Do you guys like low effort slop content? Just garbage that you can watch and every creator loves to make? Well, boy, do I have the video for you right here. Look at this. We're doing a tier list on all the tier 11s. So the previous, 2-hour video was me just looking at the stats before I've ever played them. Now, I've played all of them, so my opinions have changed ever so slightly. And as you can see, we have S, A, B, C, D, E, F tier, right? And this is relative. So what does this mean? Just because something's in F tier doesn't necessarily mean it's garbage. It's just that out of all the tier 11s, it's probably the one you want to get last, right? And that's how you should look at this. Instead of saying, oh, I'm only going to get S tier and I'm never going to get F tier. No. Instead, make this the priority. Let's get the S tiers first and then we'll keep going and then we'll get the F tiers last. F tier does not mean garbage. Again, it just means out of all the tier 11s, it's probably the least worth getting. So let's start. The T803. Well, I think to nobody's surprise, this thing is going straight into S tier. I mean, what I did say in my video, any tank that's an E5 with a smaller cupola is instantly gonna be amazing. And not only does it have that, but it also has more gun depression, slightly more heat pen, and then it has that whole higher DPM ability. You know this tank's busted when, even without any upgrades, I'm pulling in 6, 7, 8, 9,000 damage games. Without even having any upgrades. So it's only going to get better from here. If you have the E5, you should 100% get this thing. It's absolutely amazing. Alright, the XM69 Hacker. What they should have called it is the XM67 Mango. I'm sorry. We're putting it in A tier. Despite the fact that the Patton, the previous tier, was a jack of all trades, but that kind of made it garbage, this is a jack of all trades, but it's actually good at most of the trades, if that makes sense. Its turret armor is pretty good. It's not impenetrable, but it's pretty good. It's got a very snappy gun, nice alpha, nice mobility, and then it's got its laser hacker ability that makes you instantly accurate whenever you need to be, which is very nice. If there's a very crucial and important shot that you have to connect, you activate it, and then you get it. So, if you have the Patton, I mean, I wouldn't recommend playing the tier 10. It's kind of boring and crap, not gonna lie. In this very harsh meta, it's not enough to be average. That's the problem. But this, it does everything very good. It's not just average. So, we're going into A tier. Alright, the BZ79, I think it's called. I'm going to put it into C tier. And basically what C tier is that it's basically the same as the tier 10. That's kind of how it is. It's like, should you get a C tier tank? Well, it's maybe slightly better than the previous tank, but tier for tier is pretty much the same. And this is kind of it. In my previous video, I was alluding to it being E or F tier because of the rocket situation. But one thing I failed to realize is that, yeah, you can actually upgrade your rockets, and then they'll last longer and all that. So it's not as bad. And also, one thing that's interesting about this tank is that because you can control when the rockets burn, you don't have to just press it once and then whoosh, you go up that bump, but then you're rocketing downhill. And when you rocket downhill, you're wasting it because you're going downhill. You don't need the rockets. With this thing, you could be more strategic for when you use it. When there's a slight increase in the terrain, you rocket up. You get to the top, you stop rocketing, you go down. You go down, down. Then you come up to another incline, you rocket up that. So you're not actually that much far behind from the tier 10. Although the thing is, you are still kind of behind the tier 10. And you're even behind things like IS-7s and stuff. However, the hull armor is better, right? The upper plate cannot be penned, really. And the cupolas are smaller, and the roof can only be overmatched by very high caliber guns. So, although the gun is basically the same in that it's not very good, you get slightly worse rockets, but decently better armor. So, you know, it's up to you, right? You have the BZ75 or the BZ79. You can go with either one. To be honest, I think you'll do fine in both. It's not really a huge upgrade, I guess you could say. Speaking of huge upgrades, the ASS 40, whatever the hell this thing is, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have to put it in E tier. I see a lot of people saying, oh, this thing's great. And like, yeah, when the novelty of this, reloading mechanism wears off, you realize it's actually a downgrade from the bad chat in almost every way. I mean, the most obvious is the fact that you have less camo, you have less shell velocity, quite a bit less. Instead of 1400, it's 1000. That's a huge drop off. And I'm sure all these can be upgraded, and I have gone through some of the upgrades, but to be honest, I can't be fucked to play this thing anymore and get any more upgrades. I'm gonna just be completely honest with you. I don't think this thing is an upgrade from the bat chat at all. I think you would be better off playing the bat chat. Because remember in the video I said this tank has better DPM than the bat chat? I figured out why. Because to actually initiate the reload, you have to, first of all, the turret has to turn all the way so it's facing forward, and then the little mechanism has to kick in, which takes 3 seconds. And then you start your reloading. Then you're you're loading your shells. After that, you have to wait another 3 seconds for that reloading mechanism to go back down. What the hell is this? So in total, it's like 6, 7 seconds. I think maybe even 7 because, I don't know, I unupgraded, it was like 4 seconds, and then it gets reduced with the upgrades. But like I said, it's 6 seconds. That adds to your reload, which means it's actually the same DPM as the bat chat, and a tier higher, with less shell velocity, with less camo. What the hell is this? Also, it's massive, so good luck trying to maneuver this thing around places and avoid shots. To be honest, I know it's E tier. This doesn't mean it's garbage and you shouldn't get it, but you should understand that this is definitely a downgrade from the bat chat at tier 10. I don't know how you could argue otherwise. The added bonus of topping off your clip does not make up for all the downsides that this tank has. And the best part is that the intuition time, first of all, when you intuition to your other ammo, it does the reloading sequence where the thing moves up. Then it reloads each shell individually, which the autoloader just does it all at once, but it reloads each shell individually quickly, and then you gotta wait another 3 seconds for it to go back down. So in reality, intuition's 10 fucking seconds in this thing. What the hell? Again, it can be improved with upgrades. I can't be fucked, okay? I can't. The Imbatable. I was gonna put it in E tier, but since C tier is basically the tier for tanks that have not upgraded from tier 10, right? You jump to tier 11 is basically the same tank. It would go to C tier because this is basically a 50B. It's literally a 50B. Except you got worse hull armor. And despite going up higher tier, your pen did not increase. You have this little ability where you can keep one shell while you reload. And to be quite honest, I don't much care for it. Sorry, but if I'm fully unloading into someone, I'm fully unloading. If I'm left with just one shell, well, I would have reloaded anyway. And yeah, I get one extra shell, but if you're strategic with your reloads, you'll never be caught needing one shell while reloading. So maybe this is good for lower skill players, but not for me. I'm never in a situation where I'm like, oh no, I need one shell. No, I reload when when it's safe. It's not really an upgrade from the 50B. Again, the hull armor drop is, I guess it's not as bad as this. I'll put in D tier, okay? I would rather play this over that, okay? The biggest problem with the Imbatable is the exact same problem with the 50B. You don't have camo, and you don't have armor. So what are you supposed to do? Oh, well, chems, you're supposed to play off your team and take opportunistic, magazines when the enemy is... Yeah, any tank where you have to rely on your team, you're going to be frustrated a lot, especially right now when there's a bunch of new players playing and the matchmaking is utterly horrendous. This is a not very fun tank to play at all. I'm going to be completely honest. And that's kind of the problem. The 50B and the Imbatable both have very nice guns, but they're mounted on platforms that are so out of meta, it's horrible. No armor and no camo just doesn't work in 2025. You have to have one of these. You have to either be able to bounce shots so you can fight back, or not be seen in bushes. This thing can't do either. Yeah. Alright, next on the list, the Leopard 120. Yeah. I don't think it's to anybody's surprise. Is it top of D tier? Is it better than Imbatable? I think so, because it at least has camouflage, right? But, okay, you go from the tier 10 to the tier 11. Wargaming nerfed the shit out of the gun handling, and then gave it back to you in a mode. Yeah, a mode. One thing that's really stupid is that the accuracy resets every time you fire. So you have to stay stationary for all of your shots in order for them to be accurate. Now, it does charge while you're reloading, which means when you're fully loaded, you will be decently accurate. That's only one tick mark, though. You can keep waiting and it'll get more accurate. But that's the thing. The Leopard at tier 10 doesn't need any ability for this to happen. Like, it has a turret and it goes 70. Well, this one goes 65. They had to nerf that too. This is a support medium that can snipe when it needs to. Wargaming straight up removed the support part and left just sniping. Because if you don't sit still and you play ridge lines and move and all that, you have a huge aiming circle. What the hell? This is definitely a downgrade from the tier 10 Leopard. So it wouldn't be C tier, and honestly, you could put it in E tier. You know what? I might just put it in E tier because, like, literally what I just said, the Leopard can do two things. It can snipe and it can be a support medium. Wargaming made this thing only a sniper. What the hell? That is a huge downgrade from the Leopard. Will I play it over the ASS? I think I will. Alright, okay, come on. Is there anything good? Well, actually, yes. Despite my worries, the Rat is actually pretty good. The thing is with the Rat is that although it kind of has basically the same armor as the Mouse and you're up-tiered, the one little part that's changed is where it matters, the turret cheeks. The Mouse turret cheeks are like this. Boom and boom, okay? As soon as the Mouse unangles his turret, you just shoot him in the cheeks, right? Very easy. This thing, it's not so crucial to angle the turret. Like, you should angle the turret, but it's not like you have to be frame perfect, I guess you could say, where you only expose for as little time as possible, shoot, and then immediately angle the turret again. Why? The turret cheeks are very, very small compared to the Mouse, which is fantastic. This means that even if you're not angling your turret, just wiggling it enough means that people will miss it and skid off the side or hit the gun mantlet. See, with the Mouse at tier 10, it's so big, the cheeks are so big, even when you start turning your turret and they're aiming at the cheek and they fire, it still hits the cheek. This thing, when they're aiming at the cheek and you start turning your turret and they fire, there's a decent chance it skids off the side of the turret or the gun mantlet. So it's actually pretty well armored. And I was bouncing a lot more shots than I was expecting to. Plus, the coaxial guns are very nice. It's one of the better abilities, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, it's not like the T-803 where it's just like, 6 billion DPM handed to you for bouncing shots. But at least you can finish off very well-armored dug-in one-shots because you've got 2 HE rounds. Or, you could just smack an FV or smack a light. Or actually, my favorite thing to do, you track someone with the coax, they fix it, and then you retrack them with your main gun. That is extremely satisfying. So yes, this is A tier. If you know how to use it, it's worth getting, is what I'm saying. It is definitely an upgrade from the Mouse, just for the fact that it has smaller cheeks. So, the Borcin Caffer. Yeah, you're not catching me playing anything called fucking Borcin Caffer. No, I'm joking. I put it in B tier. I think it is an upgrade from the Panzerwagen, albeit a very small upgrade. The main thing where this excels at is the gun depression. 14 degrees, that is so nice. This means you can shoot down on people on the ship on Glacier. This also means you can shoot down on people on mines when you get up the hill. It opens up so many possibilities. It's actually fantastic. Plus, its scouting, marking ability. To be honest, in pubs, it works, and a lot of times you light someone or mark someone, and it just doesn't really do much. Nobody really shoots them, or they get hit once, and it's 10%, so it's not really a huge deal. But if you're in a platoon, that's where it gets very good. Unfortunately, you can't platoon with a shit barn, Because if you could mark someone, and then the shit barn would do 10% more damage. But I'm sure as they add more tier 11s, this will become more of a possibility. So yeah, it's the Panzerwagen, you know, C tier, means nothing has changed. This has upgraded. I think it is an upgrade. Plus, it is faster, so that's very good. All right, the Hirsch Caffer, or no, the Hirsch, the Hitch, the Hike, it's F tier. This thing, I don't care what anybody says, okay? I'm sorry, Kaizu. Look, I'm sorry, but this is junk, okay? You have the Grill 15 at tier 10. It does 750 alpha damage. You get to tier 11 and you get this thing, unupgraded. You get to charge it up to 750 alpha damage. You get to charge it up. Otherwise, it's 550. It still has not super great camo. It's an improvement, but it's still not that good. And, like, the Grill 15 wasn't very good to begin with, and this is worse. Like, it is such a huge downgrade that now you went from doing 750 all the time to doing 750 very rarely, and you're 550 most of the time. And the problem is, this mechanic, in that when you sit still, it charges a shot, and then it does more alpha damage when you fire. It's kind of garbage, because it basically says you have to sit still for a long time before you can do the previous tank's alpha. Why? One of the better parts of the Grill 15 is that it does have sort of a traversable turret, and it's pretty mobile, so you can actually play it as a support TD, right? You get into the little, like, ridge lines or whatever, or bob and weave in between buildings, jump people who aren't paying attention, smack them for 750 and pull back. As soon as you move in this thing, you lose your higher alpha ability. So this promotes the absolute worst kind of gameplay. It's literally encouraging you to sit still and do not move. It's actually retarded. To be honest, Wargaming, I don't know you guys, maybe you'll agree with this or not, let me know in the comments, but I think a cooler ability would be an inverse Polish TD, where the further the shell travels, the more damage it does. That would mean that, yeah, you should snipe, right? Engage at long range, it's a sniper, but you're not being punished for moving. That's the thing that really gets me, is you're being punished for moving. Why? But yeah, so like, for example, maybe this thing does 750 alpha, and then at 500 meters it does 900. Same reload, so your DPM actually increases. How's that? Your DPM increases at longer range. Wouldn't that be like what a sniper should have? As opposed to your alpha damage increases when you sit, and then when you don't fire after you reload and you just wait. Like, how, what a shit. What a fucking downgrade, dude. The Grill 15 was already bad, but this doesn't even have the alpha damage. So, yeah. Alright. Next, the Contriver. To be honest, the can opener is just so good that this thing is basically the same thing. Although it does have a contention for being worse. The reason it's worse is it's not a bad tank, okay? You know what? I'll put it in front of the Imbatable. It's not a bad tank. It's just that your lower plate has gotten bigger and your cupola has gotten bigger. However, I will move it to C tier because despite the fact that the lower plate is bigger, it is not as wide, which means you can side scrape much, much better in this. With the can opener, when you side scraped perfectly, higher pen gold rounds could go through your corner plate. Because this thing has such a narrow lower plate, when you side scrape, your corner plate is more angled and it's not as easy to pen. So, although the armor is worse in that the lower plate is bigger and the cupola is bigger, it does have better side scraping capabilities, and that's kind of rare nowadays. Do note that the turret front does have a big flat machine gun port that, although it's like 350, still tier 10 TDs will go through that. But to be fair, tier 10 TDs would go through the can opener's turret anyway. That's why I'm putting it in C tier. Going from the can opener to the Contriver, it's kind of the same thing. Really, I don't know, unless you really want that slight edge in the double barrel alpha damage, you could just stick to the can opener if you really wanted to. But, you know, to each in their own, you can play this. It's not like a downgrade, but, you know, it's not amazing. You know what is absolutely fucking amazing? The breaker. I don't know. I don't know what's the matter with people. This thing is slept on. It might have a contention to be better than the T803, but I'm not going to do that because it doesn't have a turret, okay? The turret is a huge plus, and not having a turret is a huge minus. Other than that, this thing is absolutely fucking insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. When I was reviewing this, I was like, what the hell? This thing has, like, the upper plate armor. Sure, the lower plate is quite weak. The upper plate, though, a Yag cannot pen it when you're using your gun depression or you're angling. So that's already insane and makes it better than the Badger. On top of that, yeah, it has a cupola. It's very small. It's not a big deal. It's very easy to hide. But the side armor. If someone's firing heat and you give them like 45 degrees of your side armor, they cannot pen it. They literally just cannot pen it. And that's when you angle at 45, your lower plate is at such a steep angle that, like, they can't pen your lower plate either. So this thing is like basically a T95 with the Badger's gun, which, you know, that's pretty impressive, right? Like, you're literally unkillable with extremely high DPM. I think this is the highest DPM in the game now. And you actually, after the upgrade, you get a decent buff to your gold pen to where it's actually quite nice. It's like 335. So you're going through E100 turrets. Not if you're below them, though. And that's kind of one of the downsides of this thing. It's very, very short, which means you're aiming up at a lot of things. So lower plates, very weak, right? You're low to the ground. You know, when you're up close and personal, this thing can farm lower plates easily. But shooting up at an E100 turret, yeah, it's kind of struggles. However, this thing is so short, it has kind of interesting dynamics. On one hand, things that are cover that you could normally use, you can't use it in this thing. It literally just cannot point the gun over the cover. However, there's a lot of tiny little rubble piles or tiny little dips, and that is quite literally enough to cover this thing's lower plate. That's because it's so short, right? So you do have to look for new types of cover. And what you're seeing right now is Zaid actually using the little ledge on Fisherman's Bay to hide his lower plate, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, he did just farm the whole team, and they straight up could not do absolutely anything to him. So, yeah. But it gets better. Yeah, what's this thing's ability? I'm sure you saw from the review, it gets a shit ton of horsepower, so it can climb slopes like crazy. But here's something I didn't realize. It actually also increases your top speed. Yeah. And not by a little bit, by the way. When I saw this on Daki's stream, I literally shit my pants. Oh, okay, not literally, but basically on his stream, he had a Bond Turbo, and he was going 40 kilometers per hour in this thing. This T95 with a tiny cupola with a Badger gun and shit tons of space side armor was going 40 kilometers per hour. This thing is insane. The only downside that I can tell is when you're hull down on a ridge line, you don't think you're showing your lower plate, but you are showing your lower plate. Like if you look at this T803, the distance between the gun and the lower plate is quite substantial, right? Look at this, the breaker. The distance between the gun and the lower plate is like 2 feet, like half a meter. A lot of times I crest the ridge and my lower plate is showing, even though it totally doesn't look like it is just through the sniper mode, but it is. So that takes getting used to. However, this thing just fucking shits on everything it sees. Also, because of its wider gun arc, by the way, it can side scrape. Yeah. So you can point this gun enough so that most of your lower plate is covered and, you know, back around a corner and side scrape people. This tank can do basically everything except have a turret, right? So yeah, that's why it's maybe the T803 is better because it has a turret and it is still faster. One huge downside of the breaker is that it is actually quite slow before you upgrade it. It has its ability right out of the box, but its ability fucking blows. Without upgrades, it's not very good. Fortunately, after you get like the one where it turns on faster, and then the other one that gives you more engine power, and then it, you know, at that point it starts becoming quite quick, and it's, you know, it's a lot better. Right out of the box, you got a T95 DPM monster. After the upgrades, you've got a speedy T95 DPM monster. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, the breaker, holy shit. It's actually incredible. I highly recommend this. This is a straight upgrade from the Badger. The armor's better. The speed is better. The gun has higher pen, which is one of the worst parts about the Badger. So yeah, 100%. Huge upgrade. Alright. The CS67 Sakal. This is an enormous upgrade. Absolutely enormous upgrade from the CS63. This is because it has two abilities, not just one. When it switches into its speed mode, it can charge the speed mode. The more you drive, the more it charges. When it's fully charged, you can jet propel yourself. I guess it's called ionic thruster or something, like a fucking spaceship. And you can go even faster, and it goes to like 85 for like, I don't know, like 10 seconds or so. And that's quite nice. You can get to places quite quickly. And in my review, I said this tank has the potential to be amazing. And I think it is amazing. I really love playing this thing. But when you switch to the shooting mode, guess what? When you shoot people, and you don't even actually have to shoot people, it does actually charge up over time without shooting people. But if you shoot people, it charges up faster. Once you charge up the shooting mode to its maximum, and you activate it, not only do you get a DPM boost, you get an accuracy boost, which means if you absolutely have to win a brawl, or you absolutely have to hit a shot to kill someone in like a very close game, this thing can do it, which is so nice, man. The ability to negate CS moments is just, oh, I love it so much. That would put this thing maybe A tier at best. However, that's not even as good as it gets. It actually gets even better. Do you know why? First of all, 280 APCR standard pen. 280 APCR. That's so nice. And it's amazing for tracking heavy tanks, tracking damage at the same time. But the absolute best, most amazing thing about this tank is that you do not have to stop to switch between the shooting mode and the speedy mode. You don't have to stop. The CS63 at tier 10, you have to stop, takes a few seconds, and there you go. This tank, you don't. It's amazing. So you're in speedy mode. You charged it up at the beginning of the battle, getting into position, because it actually doesn't take very long to charge the speed mode at all. So then you rocket there, and you get there even quicker. You're going 85. And before you get to the ridge or the hull down or whatever, maybe about like 3 seconds before you get there, you switch beforehand, and then by the time you get to the early position, you're fully aimed. Because you're still moving, but you switch to the shooting mode, your reticle has gone smaller. And then you shoot, you pull back, you switch and drive fast, and oh, it's just so good, dude. It's so good. And the best part is that they both charge independently. So if you switch between the modes, it doesn't reset the charge. You keep it. So this tank is phenomenal. If you have the CS63, you should get this right now. It is a direct upgrade. It goes faster, it has higher DPM, and better gun handling in the mode. It can switch its modes while moving. Straight upgrade. 100% get this. I really enjoy playing it. The KR1. To be honest, when you first get this tank, it kind of sucks. Because all the good things about it are locked behind the upgrades. Mainly the better pen, the 7 degrees of gun depression, and all the ramming capabilities. There's like 4 ramming upgrades for this thing before you actually get it to a level where you can actually ram things and not like waste your time, right? I would put it in A tier after you upgrade it because it's actually really good. It's got gun depression, it's got pen, it's speed, it's got health, it's got pretty much everything. But you know what? I have to drop it to the top of A tier because its ability is ramming after all, right guys? How often in a normal pub match, we're not talking about 3-man platoons, you know, memeing around, just a normal pub match, how often do you YOLO the enemy to ram them? And remember, World of Tanks maps are what? 2 sides separated by a long distance. So you're telling me you're going to leave your hull down and cross this huge gap and get shot by all the other guys that are hull down just for the potential to ram someone? That's someone being behind a hull down, by the way. Yeah. It is great when it works, and I've literally had games where I've won a brawl because I just rammed one guy for 1,000. And that's it. I won now. Like a 2v1. He just took 1,000 and now he's dead because I finished him off with the next shot. So yeah, it's top of A tier. Definitely. If you have the IS-7, there's pretty much no reason to not get this. Even if you don't care about ramming, 7 degrees of gun depression, you cannot skip out on that. Also, the heat pen is quite nice. So yes, it's an upgrade from the IS-7 for sure. It is a bit slower, but the rammability is so powerful that it doesn't even matter. You don't have to even be going that fast to smack people. So there you go. In my review, the 2-hour one, I was worried that because this thing was slower, it wouldn't hit as hard. Well, Wargaming made the ramming ability so unbelievably cracked that it doesn't even matter. So there you go. My biggest worry is not even a problem. There, A tier. The 432U. Yeah. Why does it have less DPM than the tier 10? Like, a lot. It was, the tier 10 went from like 27 or 2800. This is like 23 or 24. And then you could say, oh, well, you could charge up the shell for higher alpha. But that takes time. So that decreases your alpha even more. Also, once you charge it to maximum, you have to fire within like 3 or 4 or whatever seconds, or it actually cancels your shot altogether and you have to reload the shell. Although it's not a full reload, it's like only like half or a quarter or a third, somewhere around there. But it's like, it's a lot of strings attached for the benefit of getting a higher alpha, which, you know, I would say, okay, C tier then. Its ability is very situational and, you know, whatever. Maybe even B tier because it has an ability and the 430U doesn't have an ability, right? But the problem is, this tank has worse DPM than it, and it has overmatchable corner plates. That's right. The corner plates can be overmatched. Also, the cupolas they seem to be thinner, tier for tier. So, yeah, I don't know. I was playing this thing, and it's not bad. Like, I'm not like, oh man, I'm losing and dying and shitting. But in my head, I'm thinking, this thing, if I was in a 430U, I'd be reloading faster. I would also have better hull armor. Like, I wouldn't be getting overmatched in these corner plates. The whole front of the 430U is just a solid, you know, slab of steel. And no weird corner plates. So, like, this is kind of a downgrade from the tier 10, to be honest. So, I don't know. If you have the 430U, I wouldn't hold my breath. Maybe you would like the novelty of the charging up the shell. And a lot of times it's not a novelty. Like, you can trade very well. But again, your DPM's lower and your armor's worse. Was it worth it? That's up for you to decide. And again, it's not F tier. You know, it's not like horrific downgrade that you would never have any reason to go for. I don't think it's better than the 430U tier for tier. And again, just because something's F tier doesn't mean you should not get it. It just means get these ones first, right? Get the S tiers first, work your way down, and then these could be the last ones. Like, for example, here's how to think about it. Let's say you have the Leopard 1 and the T110E5, and you're wondering which tier 11 should I get first? Well, the Leopard's here, and the T110E5 is here, so get this one first. There you go, that's what I mean. Anyway, the Sturv 107 yada yada. The pillbox mode is cool, but the amount of times you can actually use it is limited. So, I don't know if it is a direct upgrade from the Sturv. Like, remember in the review I said, the armor is thicker, but it's flatter, so the lower plate is not an auto ricochet. And it's got some corner plates and whatnot. So, yeah, technically, the stats are higher than the Sturv at tier 10. But tier for tier, I think it's not really an upgrade. It's kind of the same thing. Pillbox mode can be extremely useful in very, very certain circumstances, which I guess makes it worth getting. Is this an upgrade from the Sturv? That's debatable. But if you have the tier 10 Sturv and you get the tier 11, you will not be disappointed, is what I'm saying. It's not a downgrade, right? It's kind of the same thing. So yeah, there's a reason to get this. Same with the Contriver and the BZ. Although they're very similar to their tier 10s, and they're not really an upgrade, you're not going to be disappointed if you unlock them. So yeah, there you go. I think that makes sense for this. And the Blackrock. I'm sorry to admit it, guys, but I didn't complete all the fucking missions in 3 days, so I don't have this just yet. So, okay. it won't take very long. Like the mission where it's like get 9,000 damage, I'm gonna just take the breaker out. That'll be like what, half an hour of playing, maybe 2 games. But yeah, so just yeah, I'm sorry. I said I've played all of these. This is the only one I haven't played. Just looking from the stats, I think I'll put it at the bottom of S tier. I don't think it would be A. I mean, it's basically a T803, but the turret is even stronger. And instead of like your DPM increasing, you get a double shot, which again increases your DPM. So I'll put it at the bottom of S tier because I don't see how this tank could be bad. I mean, it's impenetrable turret, high DPM. Why would this be not S tier? It's basically a T803 with slightly tweaked stats. You should take note of that, guys. If you really want the Black Rock, but you can't do the missions just yet, the T803, it kind of looks like to be the same thing. So yeah, there you go. Get this instead. And yeah, that's my tier list. Out of all of these tanks, my favorites are the Breaker and the Sakal. They're tied for first place. I don't know. They're so different, right? That it's really just what I'm feeling. Do I want to be a big impenetrable monster, or do I want to be basically the most flexible machine in the game, minus armor, I guess you could say. And then the T803, absolute beast, right? A DPM monster. It's just that when I'm looking to play a DPM monster, hull down impenetrable, I go for the Breaker. It's more extreme than the T803, right? It's smaller cupola, thicker armor, thicker side armor, but no turret. So although I think the T103 is better for most players, I think the Breaker in the hull down, like pure hull down scenarios, absolutely shits on the T803. I have plenty of replays. I'll do a review on the T803 on the Breaker. You're gonna see a replay where I absolutely just shit on a T803. You can pen it in the matlet. He can't pen you everywhere. You have higher DPM. Yeah. So that's why I personally like these two more. And then this is next. And then after that, I quite like this. It's fun. It's a light tank. It's, it's got 14 degrees, which means you can HE pen engine decks. And I quite enjoy playing this. This, sometimes you YOLO in and die instantly, and it's like, oh, I got tracked. It's, frustrating. But then when you hit that fucking 1,000 damage ram, holy shit. Mwah. It's amazing. And then this tank next, I think I like this because, again, I love the mouse. And this is a mouse with smaller weak spots and coaxial guns. I quite enjoy playing this. And the Hacker, although it's great at everything, like, it's got turret armor, it's got the very accurate gun and all that. Personally, I'd rather just play the Sakal. I would sacrifice a little bit of turret armor to get the speed mode, the DPM mode, and, all that. It's personal preference. And again, maybe you, for example, you think this tank is B tier. I think Kaizu thinks this is like A tier or S tier. That's fine. He's not wrong. This is subjective to me. It's my tier list after all. Just because I put this here doesn't mean I think it's like nobody should ever get this. However, it's kind of hard to argue that this is not a fucking downgrade from the Grill 15. And like, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but what does this do better than the DBV? Can you guys tell me? The DBV does 800 all the time. It has higher camo, and it has a fully rotatable turret. Yeah. If you're in the comments saying, this tank's really good, you have to come to terms with the fact that this is way worse than the DBV in like every way. But yeah, I don't know what else to yap about. This list may change as I play more of these. I have not upgraded everything all at once. Like the Breaker, the Sakal, all these. I've gotten pretty much all of the upgrades. And for the rest of them, I've gotten about a third of the upgrades. So I'm sure they would get better and maybe I'd move them up. But that's not really what this tier list is about. It's not absolute where you upgrade the Leopard and now it moves up. No. I'm saying this is a downgrade from the tier 10. Right? So there you go. If you trust my opinion, which I don't know, maybe you do, you can use this as a reference for what tanks to get first. Or what tanks are worth getting if you already have the tier 10. If you have the Badger, get the Breaker. You have the CS 63, get the 67. You have the E5, get the T803. There's like no argument. There's no reason not to get them. The lower tier stuff, yeah. You could stick to the tier 10 and you'll just be fine. Maybe I'll put a link to this in the description so you could do your own tier list. But yeah. I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Now you may be wondering, Chems, how did you play all of these tanks? You're not a CC, you don't have a press account. Well, consider this tier 11 speedrun.